Hey everybody, so I'm going to come at you with a real quick video today, okay? So every now and again on the Facebook pages and on the forums, I see people asking, is the Dodge Charger a good car? You know, should I buy one? And usually every time they do, somebody will comment that these cars suck and that they're the worst cop cars ever or yada yada yada, okay? Here's what I'm going to say. Most of these people that rag on these cars are the same people that make jokes that Nickelback sucks. It's a meme and it's funny, okay? These same people that are ragging on these cars have never driven one, have never worked on one, and have probably only ever heard stories about it from their friends or whatever. So I'm just going to go as far as to say is these cars do have some common issues, but I don't think that they're the worst cars ever. I think that these are no worse than any other used cop car on the market. They certainly have their issues, of course, but if you're looking to buy a cop car, especially a used cop car, you need to be aware that these cars are not driven like your everyday street car. These cars are going to have some specific issues simply because they were used as fleet vehicles. So a couple of the reasons why I believe, again, this is a matter of opinion, I'm not stating this as fact, a couple of the reasons that I believe that people rag on these cars are because people still have the image of 1990s Chrysler Dodge in their head, okay? Being that I live in the Salt Belt, when I think of older Chrysler products, I think of Dodge Rams and the Chrysler minivans and all that other stuff. And in my area, they're always rotted out. I always thought the interiors were cheap, and it seemed like all the transmissions on the 90s and the early 2000s Chrysler products were always going to crap, always needed to be rebuilt or replaced. And I think a lot of people have that 90s Chrysler stigma to them when they think about these new cars. I will go as far as to say is that these new Dodges that are made today are made so much better and made much higher quality than they were in the 90s. And I think a lot of the people that rag on these cars rag on them because they don't really know that these cars are not as crappy as some of the 90s ones were. Okay? The 5.7 Hemi has its issues, of course, but is a great motor. 370 horsepower out of a pushrod motor, easy to mod. You can get some really decent power out of this motor with bolt-ons. The 5-speed automatic transmission in these cars are, despite what people may say, are a really stout transmission. It's a Mercedes transmission. Very heavy duty. As a matter of fact, I hear more issues with the motor on these cars than you do with the transmission. Speaking of the motor, that's another reason why people rag on these cars. The 5.7 Hemi in the police cars, now I'm going to say in the police cars, have a problem with failing lifters, which in turn wipe out the camshaft, and as a result, the camshaft and the lifters need to be replaced, which means pulling both heads and a ton of wrench time getting stuff out. Is it a hard job to do? If you're mechanically inclined, it's not, but it's still a lot of wrench time. So one of the things that I believe that people rag on these cars because they think of the camshaft and the lifter issue, which does affect quite a few of these cars, but not all of them. People seem to think of that, and I think a lot of people have the image of the 90s and 2000s Chrysler stigma to them. Are these cars perfect? Absolutely not. They're definitely not, but I'm not sure if there really is any. Is it as tough as the Crown Vic? Well, the Crown Vic is, honestly, I don't think you can really compare a Crown Vic and a Dodge Charger, other than the fact that they're both four-door sedans, and they're both V8s with rear-wheel drive. They're both very different cars with very different problems. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare that type of the Crown Vic with this. I think that the Crown Vic is very stout, very heavy duty, and can handle more physical abuse than a Dodge Charger can. However, a Dodge Charger will outhandle a Crown Vic and will blow the doors off a Crown Vic any day of the week. The Dodge Charger is more comfortable to drive. It has more creature comforts. Even as a base model cop car, this thing has dual zone climate control. It's got a stereo system that's pretty darn decent stock. Headlights are better than the headlights are better than the Crown Vic. The brakes are better than the Crown Vic. They're good cars. It has its merits, okay? So to answer the question, do these things suck? Well, it's kind of hard to say. They have their issues, okay? If you're going to buy one, you need to do a little bit of research into the camshaft and lifter issues, especially if you're looking into a cop car, because that is a big issue. And if you're not handy and you don't feel comfortable working on a motor yourself, and you're looking at a car that might have this issue, it could be expensive. It could be expensive. So in conclusion, I'm just going to end this video by saying I don't think these cars suck. I think that they have their issues, but I think that the issues that they have are fixable. Okay? The camshaft and lifters can be fixed, and if you use the right parts and you do the job right, once the issue is fixed, you will never have to worry about it again, and I don't see any reason why you couldn't see 300,000 miles out of a 5.7 liter Hemi. And as a matter of fact, when I was a mechanic, I did see these. I saw these 5.7s rolling into my shop on Dodge Rams with 250+ thousand miles, and they ran good. I think the Hemi's a good motor, it just has some flaws. So with that being said, I'm just going to end the video and say that if you're going to buy a Dodge Charger cop car, you need to do a little bit of research. You need to look into the specific year. Different year of cars are going to have different types of problems. You need to look into the prices of parts, the availability of parts, what it takes to replace them, and if you can't do it yourself, how much it's going to cost to get them replaced, okay? And I think that that's just a good general rule of thumb for any car that you buy. However, I'm just going to say that if you're on the forums and you see people ragging on these cars, take what they say with a grain of salt and do your own research, okay? I would highly recommend one. I've had this car for 2 years, and this car, I would not hesitate to get in this thing and drive it to California, and I live in New York State. So I would buy another one of these, and as a matter of fact, if I do sell this car, I probably will get another Charger because I have just thoroughly enjoyed having this car and driving it. Okay, now, if you want me to touch on any other topics regarding the Dodge Charger or the Dodge Charger police cars, please let me know. I would be more than happy to make more Dodge Charger content. I love this car. I like to talk about this car. If you want to know more, let me know in the comments. If there's anything that I can improve on, let me know in the comments. And with that, I'll say have a good day, stay safe, and don't go with what the mainstream people say, okay? Do your own research. Think for yourself. You are a human. Have a good day. Be safe.